With the 11th pick, the Miami Dolphins select.
Welcome in, Finn's Faithful, the series premiere. Jason is finally here. Finn's Faithful War Room, our NFL draft coverage. We got a big first episode for you guys. We're going to start right at the top. Is Fernando Mendoza actually the true number one overall talent, or is the hype officially outrunning the film? Today, we're not guessing. What we do here is we evaluate. We have former NFL scout Daniel Kelly joined us from FirstRoundMock.com. So this isn't a take for clicks. This is how the real NFL guys grade prospects. And before the show ends, you'll hear the exact grade he gives Mendoza. You want to stick around for that and where this grade stacks in the draft class. Not only that, we'll also map out the Dolphins. Obviously, this is the Dolphins. We cover the Dolphins, their draft options at number 11. We'll take a look at the overall draft class, the quarterback class. Plus, at the end here, the key moments from John Eric Sullivan, new GM, and new head coach Jeff Hafley's introductory press conference. What people miss, what kind of quietly it tells us about the direction of the team. So that's it. That's enough of me yapping. This is the Finn's Faithful War Room. We're locked in. Let's go. Sarnie, it's finally here, man. Our first one.
We're on the clock, baby. Let's go. The regular season's been over for a bit, but I feel like our draft season kicked off a couple of months ago. You know, we've been circling the players that we like. I'm glad that we have Daniel Kelly on now with his expertise. I say, you know what? Let's bring him on up and let's start the show off right.
And chat, if you have any questions, make sure you shoot them over to Daniel and everybody else here on the panel. Daniel Kelly, former NFL scout for the New York Jets. Also, FirstRoundMock.com. He has all his draft stuff there. Daniel, I appreciate you so much joining us on the first episode of the Finn's Faithful War Room. Appreciate it, man.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much, George and Jason. When I saw that intro, it got me like excited.
Oh, you like it?
And then I hear these words that were on the clock, and that's music to my ears. I love that. That's I have a draft countdown like clock on my website. And so I'm always looking at that. And then like every time I hear that chime go off, I always think, well, the pick is in. Here we go.
Yeah, it's Christmas morning and the NFL draft are two things for me. Yeah, it's two similar things. Thank you everybody in the chat. Ray Lo-Fi, Kenny, 99 Ace. What's up, buddy? Curtis. Shout out Daniel. All right. So let's start here. Let's not waste any time. You've had some hot takes on Fernando Mendoza. I've seen you on Jason Whitlock's show and other shows. What actually here is your evaluation of Mendoza? Kind of give you people the scouting report and what your thoughts are kind of as you broke it down, a lot of tape and a lot of film on Mendoza. He's compelling as a prospect. So what you're kind of give people your take on him.
Well, here's the thing, guys. When I watch, NFL prospects, especially the quarterbacks and all these guys, I'm really watching them, like I always say, through NFL color glasses. So I'm not, watching them from a, college football fan perspective. I'm watching them from an NFL, like, how does this translate? How is this going to work in the NFL, if that makes sense? This is not taking anything away from what Fernando Mendoza or Indiana has accomplished, what he's accomplished at Cal, but it's a difference going from college football to the NFL. Even the size of the football is different, which Kenny Pickett found out the hard way. So, I mean, there's so many differences. Level of competition is a piece to the puzzle, or, who are we playing against? Are the cornerbacks and the secondary, the safeties that this guy's, throwing against, are any of these guys even going to sniff an NFL locker room? Looking at kind of the overall picture of it. So it's just looking at them a little bit differently. So with that said, now I've looked at Fernando Mendoza for 2 straight seasons. I've done a total of 24 games officially, 2 scouting reports on him at Cal Cal and also at Indiana. And when I look at him, he is, from an NFL perspective, again, he is so incredibly limited what he does. As well, at Cal, he was very limited. See, this is a guy that I was like, this really reminds me of like the 2021 NFL draft when Trey Lance kind of came out of nowhere. The 2022 draft when Pickett kind of just came out of nowhere. It reminds me in a way of the 2024 NFL draft when everyone got all super excited about JJ McCarthy and kind of attached him to Michigan winning the national championship and all this kind of stuff. Well, when I first looked at Trey Lance, for example, quickly, somebody had me on a show and had me look at him. I said, this guy is like a poor man's Donovan McNabb. I put a 6th-round grade on him initially right out of the chute when he was NDSU. And I couldn't believe it. The hype was just crazy, right? And then 2022 at Pickett, I had a 5th-round grade on him. And, of course, he skyrocketed into the 1st round and went to Pittsburgh. And, of course, McCarthy had a 5th-round pre-draft grade on. He skyrocketed up, went to Minnesota in the 1st round. So when I look at Mendoza, here's what I look at. Now I've kind of coined this phrase. It's the Mendoza 10-step program. And this is what he is on a majority of his tape, right? If I could just translate what hours and hours and hours of film viewing has been like for me. Okay, for the most part, this is Fernando Mendoza. He stands there in a shotgun like a statue, rigid, staying there. He claps for the snap, right? He stays glued to his spot, right? His spot in the pocket. If you watch him closely, he stays in that exact spot. That's where he's most comfortable. The 4th step is either handed the ball off of Indiana to the number 11 ranked rushing attack in the country, of which, of course, was a great support. I think over 55% of the snaps, 55% of the offense was a run game this year. Or he would make not 1 or 2 reads, but he would make 1 or 2 progressions he would look through. And I believe from my film study that those 1 or 2 progressions are pre-scripted. He knows where, because when you watch him on the film, it looks like he knows where he's going with the ball. And when he does look off a target, and he looks off, he comes back to it real fast. And so to me, it tells me that these are predetermined progressions that he's making. 2 predetermined, pre-scripted throwing locations he's looking at on every play. Now, the interesting thing is before the championship game, the Indiana's head coach, right, Curt Cignetti, they did a little interview with him before the game. The sideline reporter pulled him in and said, "What are you looking to do tonight, Coach?" It was kind of interesting because he confirmed everything I've been saying for weeks. He goes, "Listen, we're trying to give," I'm paraphrasing, because we're trying to give our quarterback time so he can make that first read, get to the second and then check down. I'm like, that's what I've been watching on film. That's him. That's the system. It's 1 read, two progressions, check down, or what happens. Okay, so he's back there, right? This 10-step program I'm talking about. He hands the ball off. Number 5, he makes the 1 to 2 progression reads. Okay. And from there, he pats the ball. Which a lot of quarterbacks do, right? It's a quick patting motion. Okay. And then if he goes to that second progression, here's what he does. He hard locks, like 2 people staring at each other at a bar that like each other, right? He hard locks into the target. This is something that Will Levis used to do when he was at Kentucky. Oh yeah, Will Levis, Mr. Banana Man, right? With eating the full peels and drinking what was it, butter or something he put in his.
I think he liked mayo. I think he was mayo.
Thank you. That's what the mayonnaise guy. Yeah, it was something outside the box. That's right.
Mayonnaise and coffee.
Thank you, Jason. That's what can
I scout coffee. You scout quarterbacks.
Yeah, my wife loves coffee. I should remember that. Absolutely. So be like, hey, can you bring me 2 sugars and some mayo? So but no, this is fun. This is a cool kickoff here for us. But he hard locks in with this target. There's a moment. There's an extra noticeable moment where he's staring right at that target. Okay, so he pats the ball. He stares at the target. He does everything in his power to telegraph when he's throwing and where he's throwing the ball. Okay. Now he gets into the college corners. They're playing a lot off man. They're giving, even Nick Saban at halftime is like, how many of these gift passes are we going to give Mendoza tonight? Like, we got to tell you in the second half, they, Miami tightened that coverage. They tightened those corners. They brought them down, and we saw the results. It was a 40% completion percentage for Fernando Mendoza, if I could say it, in the second half of that game, in the national championship game. So he looks out there, and he hard locks, and he has to have his body. This is interesting. He has to have his body right. His body has to be exactly, he likes to stand there like a statue in the pocket, and he likes to line up the trajectory of his shoulders with the target. And so that ensures, so he throws it, right? And it goes perfectly. He's so accurate, everybody tells us. But he has his whole body lined up like a jugs machine to shoot the ball out to the left side or to the right side, for the most part, outside, right? When I broke down film against Oregon, I sat here for like half of a day at my kitchen table. Okay,
that's the one that really stood out to me, the Oregon film. Yeah,
it's good we're discussing it then. Yeah. It's good we're discussing it, George, because when I watched him against Oregon, I charted. That's what I do. I chart all these plays, right? 95% of his passes in that game went to his first or second read, we'll call it, but it's really a progression, right? He's a progression passer. And 85% of those passes went outside, to the outsides, right? To the outsides, because that's where Mendoza has the most throwing leverage, right? He's able to have the sidelines. Nobody can crowd him from the sides. He can get the ball out there, or he throws it deep. He looks to make. What's that?
Or the back shoulder.
The back shoulder. Yeah, it gets underneath, behind. Yeah, exactly. Comes back. Bingo, right? So he's always looking to make throws that offer him the absolute most throwing leverage imaginable. And, deep passes behind the defense, behind everybody. And so he can lay it out, the catcher, they don't. Okay. But so that's what I looked at. And then 70% of those passes against Oregon were in a clean pocket. So again, getting back to my 10-step program, right? Okay, with Mendoza. So he pats the ball, he hard locks. We got that. Okay, he takes his trajectory of his shoulders perfectly lined up like a jugs machine. And then from there, at the same time, he's trying to get the ball of his hand as quickly as possible. And that's because I feel that he has no natural feel for front or backside pressure at all. I don't. Every time I watch, I posted one tweet the other day in the national championship game where the sack with, I think it was Bain coming out of the front. It was either him or the Mesidor. But Mesidor, yeah. And that pass rush, he stood there with front side. It reminded me of Will Levis. He stood there with front side pressure coming right at him, and he didn't even flinch when he was standing there. He couldn't feel that pressure, and that's happened all season. I've seen that time and time again. So what does he do? So he sits there, he looks, he tries to get the ball in his hand quickly as possible. And people say, "Oh, boy, he's getting rid of the ball so fast and everything," right? 2.25 seconds was what's when he's kept clean. But then what happens is if that first progression's not there and second progression's not there, he starts noticeably panicking on film. His feet start getting a little jumpy, he gets a little happy feet, he starts moving around a little bit. He drops his eyes almost immediately on film. Drops his eyes, focus on what's going on, gets kind of jittery. Okay, he's going to do one of three things, guys. He's going to bail for sure. He's going to get out of there as fast as possible to compensate for the fact he can't feel pressure. He doesn't want that to be exposed. So he's going to bail out of the pocket, and he moves. Now, what he's looking to do is he's looking to either find an open receiver in his line of vision as he's moving predominantly to his right because he's right-handed. So he moves to his right, and he's looking to get the ball to somebody's line of vision. If he can't do that, he's throwing away, or he ends up getting sacked on the play. So that's really, step number 7 of it. He's trying to get to that, those two progressions from there. And then, if that's not there, like I said, he gets sacked. And then, he's really throwing to number 9 on my list. He's throwing the 3 designated areas. When you watch Fernando Mendoza on film, he's doing one of 3 things almost exclusively. He's either throwing the ball outside to his left or to his right. It's either a bubble screen, a little screen pass left or right behind the line of scrimmage. It's a short hitch left or right. It's a back shoulder, as you mentioned, George, on the left or right-hand side. It's something outside the numbers, generally past the line of scrimmage. He's trying to get the ball outside again with the most throwing leverage he could possibly, get for himself. Or he might throw an inside slant again with a lot of passing leverage, right? A lot of throwing leverage. Or he's gonna throw it to a wide open receiver like a fullback or running back just standing there like, hey mom, throw it to me, and he's gonna throw it across, over the middle, short, guaranteed, right? To pad that completion percentage, or he's gonna go deep with the ball. And one of those 3 things are gonna happen. So he throws a very elementary route tree. So when I look at all this, he's not throwing all the routes on film whatsoever. And when the crazy thing, guys, was when I looked at my 2025 film scouting report, on my website, when I got done with it, I cross-check myself because that's what scouts do. They cross-check each other. Well, I'm not in a scouting department right now, so I have to cross-check myself. Right? So I go back and I looked at my 2024 film evaluation of Mendoza after I got done, just for the sake of being authentic, just okay, let's compare what I'm seeing in 2 different times. I can't possibly remember all this. Let's just see. The reports almost read the same from Cal to Indiana. The difference is he was playing for like number 67 Cal, so we didn't hear a whole lot about him. He transferred to number 10 Indiana. They were number 10 at the time, I believe, when he transferred. Now all of a sudden he's got a lot better team around him. Now all of a sudden, he's this big deal. It's really a byproduct. I see Fernando Mendoza as a byproduct of Indiana's success, the same way as J.J. McCarthy was with Michigan in 2024. Because, everybody said, hey, look at McCarthy. I looked at McCarthy, and I'm like, this is a middling backup quarterback. He's a tough guy. He's a good team guy. He's smart. But this is not – he had 13 explosive throws all season on film. And so I look at these guys like Mendoza is just a byproduct of that success there. So that's what I saw during the season. I don't want to give away my grade because you said don't do it quite yet.
You can give. How about this? I'll give you. Let me give you my report.
Okay. Yeah. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
And then you finish off.
Yeah, I love this. This is what a war room is. Right. We all go around and say.
So when I watch Mendoza, here's what I see. I see a quarterback who's got to be in the right offense. Like you said, he's not. I call them aircraft carriers, right? He's not the kind of guy who's going to show up and suddenly make everything around him better. He needs structure. He needs rhythm. He needs protection. He does throw the ball. He does the good stuff. Throws the ball. The ball placement's pretty good. He throws to spots. He's comfortable working with timing routes. But when the play gets drawn up and it works, when the play goes exactly how it's supposed to be drawn up, he looks like a pro. First, second read, like you said, boom, ball's out, accurate on time. You can win like that. But here's where it changes for me. And this is a lot where I agree with you on. A lot of his throws feel predetermined.
Bingo.
And then when the defense brings the pressure, Daniel, when they blitz him, they force him off his spot. Then is when you start to see the cracks. He's not great off script. He's not a guy who's going to break the pocket, create chaos, and beat you outside the street. It's just not him. Mm-hmm. Athletically, he's fine, but this notion, he's a little bit above average. Let's be clear. He's not a dual threat. To me, he's not going to make a living with his legs, and he's 6'5", Daniel. But the body, the mass, the functional strength to me is not overwhelming. It's like when he gets hit, he gets hit. You know what I mean? I've seen a few plays, not just the one in the championship game. It's a great run, but I've seen him get hit out of bounds where he flies like 4 yards on a normal hit. So to me, he's not struggling off rushers and powering through contact like an Allen. Stylistically, here's where I think the ceiling for him is. It's like a Jared Goff. I've seen that comp a lot. It's what I saw. It's like if you're saying you're dreaming on him, and it's not an insult. Goff's a good quarterback, but it tells you what he is: rhythm, timing, structure, system dependent. So when I hear he's QB1, to me it says more about the class than it does about Mendoza. Could he be a top 15 quarterback in the league, around 14, 15? Sure. I think that's on the table, but he's not a guy who's going to carry an offense, and he's a great kid. Great local kid here from Columbus High School, tremendous family, nothing personal against the kid. I think there's a world you can win with him. But that's kind of what I see there, Daniel.
You bring up a lot of interesting points there, George.
Do I know what I'm talking about, Daniel?
Yeah. No, this is good. This is good conversation. It's good conversation because, you talked about the difference. And that's where I think, there's an old saying in life, what's inside something, people are like sponges. When they're squeezed, what's really inside is going to come out, right? And so, like you talked about, when things break down, what does Mendoza look like? That's the real thing because he lives in a bubble. He plays in a bubble. He plays in the system. Now, the crazy thing is, I went back and I just before we went on here, I compared is it really Mendoza or is it the system? When you compare Curtis Rourke last year, right, to Mendoza this year. The stats are almost identical across the boards, so when he's in that system, PFF almost had a similar grade on him. ESPN, similar QBR. I mean, it's not just me seeing this stuff. I mean, these are major platforms putting the same kind of numbers on both quarterbacks, right? And Rourke was a 7th round pick. You go back and look at Will Howard last year. I looked at him this morning. Will Howard's numbers compared to Mendoza's numbers. Will Howard's a national championship quarterback last year. Numbers are very comparable. Will Howard's 6th round Pittsburgh Steelers, right? So, and I like Howard better. I had a 6th round pick on Will Howard at Kansas State. A couple of years ago. I like Howard better than Mendoza. So when I look at this, you talk about when things break down. Now that's a key point you make, George, because when he's kept clean, according to PFF, Pro Football Focus, right, the numbers are 77% completion percentage. Okay, at the college level when he's kept clean, but that number drops to 51.2% when he's under pressure. Right? That's not too good in college football. We're going up to the NFL where the competition level is a lot higher. The game's a lot faster. The coverage is more complex. There's, a lot of these NFL quarterbacks. I've heard Kirk Cousins, these guys talk, like I'm sure you guys have, and some of our listeners have. It's like, it used to be like, you can read man or zone by, sending somebody in motion pre-snap, and either the quarterback follows them across or he doesn't. It's man or zone. What's not like that anymore. These teams are playing all these different concepts of man zone combo. People are dropping in and out. Like the NFL is a game of adaptability at the quarterback position. It's a game of split-second adjustments after the snap. It's a post-snap game. And Mendoza lives in this bubble of like you even said it, George, this predetermined bubble. I got to go here. Like he's a very linear thinker. I got to go here. I got to go here. I can't do that. I break down. Everything breaks down. Everything's done. And so like there was an interest. I would wish one of our listeners could find something or tell me something about this, or you guys could, because I've scoured the internet. I can't find the statistic, but I would love to hear what his completion percentage has been for the season on the move, because ESPN put something out after 5 games on October 10th, and they stated that Mendoza was 16.7% completion percentage on the move. That is horrendous. Okay, now here's what we're doing, right? So now think about this, right? So like I said, I watch these guys with NFL colored glasses, right? I'm thinking, okay, it's like, holding up 2 sheets of paper. One's college football and, one's the NFL, right? I look at, both screens. And I look at this, and now ESPN's reporting, right? Again, this is ESPN reporting this, but they're reporting 6 NFL teams have quarterback lists as their top need, according to them. Okay. The Raiders, the Jets, the Cardinals, the Browns, the Dolphins, and the Steelers, right, are the teams that need a quarterback, according to ESPN. The frightening thing about this is 5 of the 6 of those teams listed are all like bottom 16 teams in the league in sacks allowed, right? So they've allowed the most sacks of, like the Raiders, right? People say Mendoza to the Raiders. Okay, well, here's the deal with the Raiders. Now you take these components we're talking about, a guy who's 51.2% in college against. There's only a fraction of those guys who ever even have an NFL tryout or make a team. Only 30%, according to research, 30% of draft picks even make a roster, right? So these guys he's playing against. So you look at, okay, let's put Mendoza with the Raiders. Okay, that's what everybody wants to have happen. That's what everyone's beating on the drum all day, every day on all social media is Mendoza to the Raiders, Mendoza to the Raiders. It's every platform, it's every show, right? You're going to take a guy like that who's like a statue, like a rigid, awkward statue in the pocket, and you're going to put him behind the Raiders offensive line, who allowed the most sacks in the NFL this last year at 64 sacks.
Yeah, not good.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Jason, we've dealt with that kind of with Tua down here. You know what I mean? Tua has had that similar structural, not off script, different builds, obviously, in injury histories, but like we kind of had that. We see in the chat, Dolphin fans are kind of traumatized by the whole Tua experience. A lot of the things you're saying sounds like what we dealt with Tua down here. Jason, I know you have a question, but quickly, what was your evaluation of Tua? And do you see some of the similar concerns you had with Mendoza that you had with Tua, or was Tua a different animal for you?
Different animal for me. I mean, I like Tua a lot. I mean, I fell in love with him in the national championship game when he threw that touchdown pass at the last second. I think Tua is extremely instinctual. I think he's kind of, he's just kind of a byproduct of the whole situation with the Dolphins right now, the whole meltdown, the whole situation, the rebuild that's going on right now. But no, I think Tua is, I like Tua. I do. And I think he's a lot more athletic. He's a heck of a lot more athletic than Fernando Mendoza, in my opinion. And he's also incredibly more instinctual than Fernando Mendoza as well. And he can move around a lot better, and he can throw on the move better. And he can, there's, of course, he's had all the concussions and everything, but it's a different guy. And that's another thing, too, is that Fernando Mendoza ran the ball 83 times this year, as you talked about, George. I view him as a high injury risk in the NFL because, like you said, he leaves his body wide open to all the shots. Yeah, I mean, how we've seen it with. I mean, I put a high injury risk label on Anthony Richardson pre-draft. I put a high injury risk, also I talked about Jackson Dart. How he didn't protect his body that well pre-draft and stuff. When you get a guy at 6'5" running in the Jaden Daniels is another one I gave a third round pre-draft grade to because he was a high injury risk. Because I mean, I watched the film at LSU and I couldn't believe it. I mean, this guy he thought he was Derrick Henry, but he's built like a piece of paper. I mean, he's it's like rock paper scissors that old game. It's like he just gets crumpled. I mean, he got just hammered at LSU. I put out like clips of stuff of him getting just hammered. But Fernando Mendoza, how long is he going to last at 6'5", running like as one announcer called him a baby giraffe in the open field? And he doesn't like to slide much, and he doesn't like to run out of bounds that much, absorbing all this body contact. They're going to, he's a big target. They're just going to take shots at him in the open field.
So your final grade, we can let people know we'll move on from Mendoza. Your final grade on Francisco Mendoza. So everybody listen up closely. Your final grade on the guy who's most likely, you agree, going to go 1 to the Las Vegas Raiders. Your final grade and evaluation on Mendoza right now.
4th round. That's the value. That's the value. That's the value. That's what his college game film translates to the NFL in. Those limitations. 4th round to me means low ceiling, developmental type of quarterback. He's got a long ways to go before he's ready to do anything of any significance. And to me, grading is a huge responsibility because the grades create the expectations, and the expectations create the trajectory of the player's career. So a lot of times we see these guys that come in and they become busts because they're not being graded properly. They're not being graded according to what they actually put on film as an NFL projection. So he's got a long ways to go. Fernando Mendoza. I'll say this, that whoever has thinks he should go number 1. I question if they could even evaluate film. I mean, this guy is so far away from a first round. There's nothing on his film that says first round to me. That's me personally. If I was sitting in a draft room and somebody called on me that kind of share what I thought, there's nothing about Fernando Mendoza. I mean, I understood the argument. Caleb Williams, I give a 4th round pre-draft grade to, but I could understand the argument because of the elite athleticism against, that he showed, but he was an average passer. Caleb Williams is still an average, below average passer. He's got one of the lowest completion percentages in the NFL right now. He's got one of the slowest times to throw in the NFL. But I could at least understand that argument, fans saying, hey, Caleb Williams is a guy, da-da-da-da. But Mendoza doesn't have that elite athleticism to get him out of trouble and to bail out and run around and do all that kind of stuff. They're gonna hit him repeatedly. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all.
Shout out to the chat, guys. Make sure we're joining the Finn's Favorite War Room with former NFL scout Daniel Kelly, talking draft, quarterbacks, Mendoza, Dolphins, everything. Guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up. Go ahead, Mr. Jason Sarney.
Yeah, great stuff with Mendoza. And a lot of people obviously are saying that the 2027 quarterback draft, very rich draft. I mean, for the Dolphins fan base, that's kind of where people should be looking if it's a first-round quarterback. Obviously, picking at number 11, great or not, not really thinking about Mendoza at 11, but are there any other quarterbacks and your overall thoughts on the 2026 quarterback class? Is there any entertaining of a quarterback in like the first 2 rounds for the Dolphins? And what are your thoughts overall on the rest of the crop in 2026?
Yeah, I don't think that's a great question, Jason. I don't think that, my personal opinion, I don't think the Dolphins are going to go quarterback in the first or second round in this draft. I'm very intrigued by the new regime from the Packers. Those guys, I mean, let's face it, those guys know quarterbacks up there in Green Bay.
Let's hope he carries down here.
Yeah, they know quarterbacks, and who knows what the team's going to even do it too at this point, right? He's got the huge deal and all this
gone.
stuff.
I think he's gone.
Yeah, well, quite possibly.
I think how is the biggest question.
Well, right, that's exactly it. With the dead cap space and the hit and all this kind of stuff. Now I'm a big Quinn Ewers fan. Okay, so I had a first-round grade on Quinn Ewers.
Wow.
I maintained a first-round grade of his last 2 seasons at Texas. Ewers was my next to Cam Ward, those are the 2 guys I had in the first round last year. So I'm a big Quinn Ewers fan, and I really am encouraged by what I've seen out of Ewers early on with the Dolphins. I mean, he's got, I think it was like, I looked at, he's got the same completion percentage as Jordan Love, for example, 66.7%. He's got one of the faster times to throw. I think his completion percentage is about like ranked number 13 off the top of my head. His time to throw is pretty fast too. I think he's at like 267 or 262 or somewhere in that neighborhood. But I mean, he gets the ball. I mean, that's the key to it is 2 things I look at NFL quarterbacks. Can we get the ball of our hand fast, and can we get it out of our hand accurately? And I think Ewers showed some really good early signs. So I think that have to encourage this new regime. But I mean, if they're good, so often we see in the NFL familiarity. I mean, the question is, are the Miami Dolphins going to turn into the Miami Packers? And so, and of course that means Malik Willis. Could we see Malik Willis coming in? I think that's a very real possibility. Willis was my 2022 NFL draft QB1.
Loved him coming out.
Him. There you go. There you go. Me too. That's and I took a lot of heat about that one.
So did I.
But I mean, it could be, so to answer your question, Jason, I don't think it's going to be quarterback this year. I think they'll go with what they have. They're going to, I mean, Ewers is a good option because if they have a bunch of dead cap space for 2 in that, they're going to have to try to build carefully. I mean, Ewers has that 7th round rookie deal in place and stuff. They could kind of go with that and see how it kind of goes from there. But that's what I thought in the quarterback situation with the Dolphins.
As you mentioned before, this is the war room, so we're all sitting at the table.
Yeah,
we're giving our thoughts. We're giving our, what we
I mean, what do you think? What do you think about the quarterback?
I got a couple guys.
I'm going to set up. One of our main listeners, Jordan Murray, he kind of teed up a question that is literally right on deck for me. I'm not in the camp of taking a quarterback early per se for Miami, but I share your thoughts on Quinn Ewers. I'm a fan of his. I want to see him develop and get a shot, but I also want to see a relative amount of competition for him, whether that's Malik Willis. Look, I don't know if the money is going to be right. Dolphins cap situation is not good. So let's see if, John Eric Sullivan can coerce him to maybe get a good deal. But I think if you're looking at those 3 at the moment, 3rd round draft picks for the Dolphins, and they could get some more with some compensatory picks if there's a certain coach that might get hired for a head coaching job. But anyway, do you think that there's an opportunity for the Dolphins to select in the 3rd round a quarterback? And if so, who should Dolphin fans be kind of targeting if that's the case? I mean, they got 4 or 5 picks before maybe looking at that if it's their third round pick. But who would be in that 90 to 111 range?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have 3 quarterbacks with a 3rd round grade on right now in this upcoming draft. Cade Klubnik from Clemson is one of them. Jalen Daniels from Kansas, absolutely, who's like the second coming of Rodney Peete. Like every time I turn him on, that's all I see on film is Rodney Peete. That's all I see. And then also Ty Simpson, I have a 3rd round grade on. People are a lot higher in Ty Simpson than I am. There's some serious ball security issues there that that there's games where he's just throwing the ball up for grabs when the pocket gets crowded. I that's he's got to work that out. And then also I look at a guy. I have a second round grade on, despite the broken ankle out of Penn State, Drew Aller. I have a second round grade on. I put out a article, a evaluation that I said, Drew Aller could be the steal of the 2026 NFL draft. I like Drew Aller a lot. I mean, the arm strength, the poise, the ability to look off the first read, get to the second, third read. He's got some, he's below average protecting his body as a runner. His confidence is back and forth. I think some of that had to do with losing, Warren at tight end this last season. I think he really missed Warren a lot. That's my personal opinion. His receivers, he didn't seem to have a lot of confidence or trust in those guys when I watched the film. But, the footwork's a little inconsistent, but Aller's a guy. I mean, I've heard TV announcers, say that, he reminds me of, and they'll to be talking during the game, and they'd be like, I see, Big Ben. I see Ben Roethlisberger in this guy. So I mean, I didn't go quite that far with it, as far as a comp or something, but those four names are four names that I would, definitely consider to come in and provide some competition for yours.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You made a couple of names there, and for just to be clear, for me, the whole Dolphins organization needs to get bigger and tougher, and that includes the quarterback position. So I'm looking for quarterbacks with size, not just arm strength, but look at the division. I want a weatherproof quarterback who can play in all situations. I think they need that. You mentioned Drew Aller, our guy Lo-Fi, who's on this on our part of the Fins Faithful family here. He's a big Drew Aller guy. I like him a lot. He fits that. I'll give you another guy who I like probably a little more in the middle rounds, Taylor Green. I know he's a project, but I think if he played at a bigger school, I think he'd be looked at a little bit more. I think that the size, 6'6", 240, again, accuracy is an issue at times against especially better competition. I'm aware of that. But if you can develop him, I think he's a lotto ticket. I think the chances are probably more than likely not he doesn't work out, but he's one of the very few. He's intriguing to me. If I can get him in the 4th, 5th round, he's somebody, if I feel like I can bring him in and develop, man, the traits are off the chart. Your thoughts on Taylor Green, and another guy I wanted to ask you about is the kid out of Saul Robinson, the Baylor kid. Those two guys.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to evaluate either one of those guys. Okay. There just isn't enough
let
hours.
Me know. Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only so many hours in a day. I went back today, guys, and I counted. Now this is not all this year, but this is looking at the last 2-3 years of film. I counted up how many games I've evaluated. I have 7 quarterbacks now, including Trinidad Chambliss, right? Because Trinidad Chambliss, he's up in the air right now. He's suing the NCAA, but the 7 quarterbacks I have on my board right now, I've watched a total of 229 games. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's like there's just not enough hours. But I like the idea. I like the ideas that you're throwing out. Developmental guys with size you can bring in and work with, and I gotta believe that if they are guys that can develop, the 2 guys you mentioned there, George, I gotta believe that these guys, this new regime from the Packers, are gonna be they can recognize the developmental qualities, and they could be 2 really interesting guys. They really could be.
Yeah. I'll be curious. Let me know whenever you get to them. We'll have to link back up and
absolutely. Him and Jack Strand. I don't know if you guys have heard that name pop up.
I haven't. I've heard it, but I haven't got into him. I'm just because during the season we do a lot of Dolphin stuff, so I start really going heavy now this last few weeks. So
that's awesome.
I love it. You can tell the passion I have. And this is what I love to do. This is my home. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. By the way, can I borrow that term, weatherproof quarterback? Can I borrow that?
Yeah, you can have it.
That's great. I love that. I love that. By the way, George. I love that.
I appreciate it. You can see the smile on my face. How sunny.
I love that.
Right. So before I know Jason, you're going to talk about the Dolphins and their pick 11, the options. Overall, this class, weaker class than normal, right? Average. I mean, I know we always say that there's guys to be found in every class, but overall so far, you haven't kind of the top of the draft, not a ton of blue chip.
Well, that I'm starting to work through that. I mean, my process is extremely intense. Like I changed my process a couple of years ago. I started looking at, I used to look at 3, 4, or 5 games in every guy, and the standard the Jets was like, 5 games, 2 games at the beginning, 1 game in the middle, 2 games at the end. I had a colleague that named Ken Bax that told me that, hey, I've never missed on a guy whenever I've evaluated all the guys, all the games, of a guy. So I made a lot of sense to me. It was like a light bulb moment. And so I changed my process. I started looking at all the games. So I looked at all the games on the 2024 film of the top 50, 60 guys over the last, 6 months since draft day. Now I'm circling back and I'm starting the process all over again on the guys on the list with their 2025 film. To me, just based on my 2024 first round rough draft, right? I have 24 first round grades, which is a little bit better than last year's.
That's a good number, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's right where I was at, and so I think that there's a fair amount of talent. I think, especially at the offensive tackle position, I think there's a fair amount of talent. I think at the receiver position, there's a lot of talent. And it's so I think there's opportunities there for sure.
So now looking at the Dolphins at 11. I think, with Hafley in, the money for me is on a defensive guy. I mean, obviously, if the top 2 tackles are available at 11, got to go with the tackles if they are available, Fanu, Moago, whatever. But realistically, who do you like for the Dolphins at 11? I'll talk about a guy who I'm kind of slowly starting to bang the table for, but who do you like? A little teaser right there. Slowly, yeah, exactly. But we'll see.
Shout out to Sammy. Daniel actually just said he has Aller ranked second round. He likes him a lot. So that's your question. Go ahead. Shout out, Sammy.
But for Dolphins fans out there, who should everybody start circling at number 11?
I am really intrigued by the idea of Spencer Fano. I really like him from Utah. This is a guy that has. I haven't gone back to his 2025 film. Actually, he's probably the next prospect I'm going to look at. I'm just finishing up Ruben Bain right now. Just came up for air today on that one for a couple minutes. But Fano is a guy that on his 2024 film, he produced really clean tape. He's dominant. He's dominant in the pass game. He's dominant in the run game. He's got speed. He plays with good technique. He's got those big old long arms. He's athletic, high football IQ. He's a guy with, he's impressive. He's a guy that I really like. And what I like about him is I already like Patrick Paul. I had a first round grade on him coming out, and he's over on the other side, the left side, and he's got that aggressive nature to him that he showed, coming out. And then you have, Fano or Fanu, you pronounce it is Fanu, right? Is that it, Fanu?
Yeah. Here's my just go ahead. I'll put up a little thing of Fanu we had here, but go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. But Fanu is a guy that has that same aggressive nature to him. And what I like about that option is it sets the edges of the offense, and it sets that offensive tackle position no matter who's playing quarterback for the Dolphins. It provides a bookend type of tackles that they can have there. So that's what I really like the idea. Now, I'm probably, I don't know how it's going to play out when I, put them all the names down on the list and, put out my top 32 value board. But, I'm thinking early on that Fanu may be a guy that could, squeeze into the top 10 as even a right tackle. He's if he's as good on his 2025 film as he was on his 2024, and he puts together 2 consistent years like that of clean tape, he'll probably squeeze into my top 10. But I mean, the Dolphins are sitting there at 11. So I really like that idea.
Yeah, his feet are, he moves laterally. His kick slide tech, it's incredible. And it's funny. His teammate, Jason Lamu, who took over for Fanu actually at left tackle. I think 24 is another guy. They got a pair of guys there, and then you have Moaga. Do you see one of those 3 guys being there? Probably Lamu, probably most likely there at 11.
Oh yeah. I wasn't nearly as high on him. He blocks like a wrestler. He gets off balance too much and stuff. I mean, so on his 2024 film, but yeah, Fano to me kind of sets apart from the rest of the class. I also liked Isaiah World. for, when he was coming into Oregon too. I had a first round grade on him on his 2024 film. I think I had him roughly around about 24 on my board for my 24 pre-draft board. But those guys mainly would be the two guys I would think about.
Do you think that Miami Hurricane Francis Mauigoa is going to be around? Mauigoa is around. I think he could be even a top 6, top 7 pick with his ability.
Yeah. It depends. I mean, I wasn't that high on him, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, I know a lot of people are. I mean, it's possible, but I just really like the idea. I think we're all kind of tracking on the same page, just the offensive tackle thing, as far as, because the thing of it is, I looked at, what Austin Jackson, at right tackle, he's in the last year of his deal this year. With his contract and stuff, your guys right tackle. So I mean, so you got to start playing for the future. I mean, if you're gonna get a quarterback of anybody in there, you got to start thinking about protecting them. And I think I think it would be wise to build the line, really, and just kind of go from there. And the quarterback instead of doing it reverse like a lot of teams do.
Yeah, there's a question I was going to ask.
Agree on that.
Confident Daniel. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but is there any prospects that are rated high now that might slip in the draft as we get closer? Like, let's stay with 11. Like, is there a guy you say, holy crap, this is a guy I always get a feel for a guy. Like, I thought last year would have been Mason Graham, who just because the body type, if the Browns didn't fall in love with him, I think he could have slipped to maybe 10. Like, is there a guy you see there that we might be looking up at 11 and say, wow, he's there? Like, do you have a guy or two? Like, my dream world would be Caleb Downs, but I don't think that'll happen.
Caleb Downs is one of the couple few guys. I've done 2 full seasons of film now. I got done with the 2025 film the other day, and Downs is he won't be there. To me,
he's a gold jacket type. Somebody brought Brian Dawkins as a comp to me.
Yeah, he's very interesting. He's a guy that he's the fastest safety I've ever evaluated in terms of speed. He can move, and he moves around all sorts of different places and positions. He offers a lot of game planning versatility and flexibility. He can come up to the line, play inside the box, come off the edge. He can torpedo off the edge and stop the run. He can drop into coverage. You can place him over the nickel, the nickel position over receiver. I mean, tight ends and running backs, he sticks to him like glue. So he can move all around, and he hits too. He looks like a compact, smart guy, but he's really built. He's really muscular, and he brings it. I mean, I saw him lay some people out. I mean, so yeah, I can't see Downs. He's such a difference maker. I can't see Downs. I probably can see him in the top 5 actually.
Yeah, he's actually. At this point. I know people goes positional value, but like he's one of the few clean prospects that you could feel pretty good about in this draft to me. So there's only a few of them.
He's only the second. He's only the second safety I've given a first round grade to since 2021. So I mean, that's how much I like him. I mean, he's got me convinced.
Yeah, he's a guy that definitely, for whatever reason, if he's around at 11, this is like a run the ticket up situation. It ain't gonna happen. So I'm making my peace with that. But I am going to stick on the defense for a second and try to jump into the head of not just John Eric Sullivan, but new coach in Miami, Jeff Hafley. The Dolphins have had a lot of trouble, I think, getting the right kind of edge setting pass rusher, and I think a lot of people love to look at, all right, how many sacks did he have? I don't necessarily want to look at that as much as I want to look at the ability to be versatile around the line, to create that run stopping ability in setting the edge, and a guy that I'm really intrigued by. Don't look at statistics, is Keldrick Falk out of Auburn. Monster at 6'6", like 285. And some comps have him as a more athletic Campbell. I'm curious of your thoughts on him.
Well, you're barking up the right tree, I think, with Falk. I had him as my 2024 film. I have him rated number 7 overall on my board. So yeah, I like what. Can you hear me? I'm not freezing up. Am I? Okay?
No, Jason, you were breaking up for a second, but yeah, Jason.
I was breaking up. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah, Jason's a huge fan. You're gonna put a smile on his face with Falk. To me, he's a dominant run defender. I agree with the Calais Campbell thing.
Yeah.
I think you can play 5 tech, and then you bring him inside a little bit on third down situations. But I have a question about the edges in general. Is there a chance? Bailey goes ahead of Arvell Reese. Like, we know what Bailey is as far as a pass rusher. Reese is rusher, is linebacker, different things. And then I want to ask about Sonny Styles, who's a guy covers tight ends, great open field tackler. A little light, but somebody and also can blitz a little bit. At 11, any of those names, and who's your first edge? Is it Ruben Bain?
I don't know yet because I haven't done all the 2025 films, so I won't know for sure. Bain is an interesting prospect. I mean, like I said, I've been spending the last couple of days, all day, every day, looking at Bain. And Bain is a guy that, he looks like a monster half the time on film, and he disappears the other half of the time. And so it's when he turns it on though, he's got all the polish to him, he's got all the pass rush moves, how he can come off that edge, and when he's quick off the snap, he's inconsistent on his snap time when he gets off the snap, but when he comes off the snap right, especially against right tackles, and he's able to get down low and he's able to scoop underneath he does that quick move and that quick hand thing, and then he gets underneath the tackle and he goes right into the pocket. So I like Bain a lot. First round grade for sure. The other guys you mentioned was David Bailey, you said was,
Bailey,
and then who's the other guy?
Arvell Reese.
Yeah.
And then
Reese didn't have good 2024 film. That's the interesting thing about Reese, and I felt like he didn't really have a spot, so I'm interested to go back and do his 2025 film, so I'm going to reserve comment on Reese for right now. I know every time I've watched Ohio State this year, on defense, it's like, oh, wow, who's this? But that wasn't what he looked like on his 2024 film. And David Bailey's interesting. You mentioned before of a guy who could slip or slide or what he's going to do. Character's a big thing in NFL teams. And, David Bailey, I have a first round grade on his 2024 film in my process, but, he's had some issues, some different things on the field and, stomping on a guy's head or something in one game in 2024. And, there's some, there could be some, character, stuff that goes on there. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see. And then, Sonny Styles is definitely a guy too, that, you say he can cover all these things and, the positions and cover ground. And, I wasn't as high on him on his 2024 film. I think Sonny Styles, I had him, let me see. Let me see. Sonny Styles. Yeah, I had him like in the fourth round grade on him in 2024 film. But again, guys change. Like Bill Parcells used to say, love to say is that, guys, nobody stays the same, but people either get better or they get worse. So I'm interested to go back in a 2025 film and do both those guys real soon. But yeah, edge rushers. I mean, that's edge rushers, corners, Another guy I'm looking at corners is for the Dolphins at 11. Yeah, would be Mansour Delaney. Yeah. You guys like him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If they are going to go corner, that's the guy I'm going to target. Cut his teeth a little bit with Virginia Tech, and I think he going to LSU to prove that he can play against some of that better competition. I think he could be a ball hawk that the Dolphins have sorely needed.
Yeah.
Good thoughts on him. Yeah. For sure.
What about comparing him to the Tennessee corner? He's been injured a lot, but McCoy.
McCoy's a wild card. It's going to be his pre-draft process is going to depend a lot. It's I had a first round grade on the limited film I was able to do on him, from 2024, but that's definitely another possibility.
Yeah, you got my bro here. Carl Prince agrees with you on Bailey. He's one that he sees natural pass rush with good bend, but he doesn't see elite physical traits. So he agrees with you, a guy who could slip. All right, we'll get you out of here pretty soon. Finally, I just want to get your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins situation. Are you familiar with John Eric Sullivan and Halfley? And your thoughts overall on the direction this team is headed under this new regime here. Just your thoughts about bringing it back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's kind of interesting because one of the teams that showed an interest in me early on in my scouting career was the Green Bay Packers. Before I went to the Jets, even throughout the years, John Schneider, when he worked there, he would stay in contact with me and send me notes and letters and stuff in the mail and that, and we'd kind of correspond and so the Reggie McKenzie is another one who once called the Jets when I was there and expressed some interest in that. So I've always had this kind of like this synergy with the Dolphins, with the Packers. I'm sorry, but synergy with them. So it's like, am I familiar with them? Have I studied their careers? I'm familiar with their careers. And I think that what they bring to the table is that kind of that Packers way of doing things. And that the Packers are looked at and viewed as in the NFL as being a flagship scouting department. This is one of the best scouting departments in the National Football League. They do things right there. Obviously, we've talked about the quarterbacks, how they always seem to be able to find the right person, and they there's just one right after another, and they bring that to the Dolphins. So I think they're going to bring vision. I think they're going to bring discipline to the team. I think they're going to bring the ability to unearth some prospects that maybe are a little bit more under the radar, and also they're going to be able to hit I think on a lot of their top picks as well. So I'm excited to see how that kind of meshes with the current talent level of the Miami Dolphins and how they're going to put that together and what that's going to look like. But I would be excited if I was a Dolphins fan watching this right now. I'd be excited about the direction that the Dolphins are going. I think it's a well thought out direction. The kind of that synergy, they have both coach and GM from the same team. That synergy, bringing that in here to the Dolphins, I think is important, and to be on the same page as far as philosophically.
Yeah, I know
another position that I've been really circling, and I think the Dolphins are in desperate need of to pair with Jalen Waddle, is not just a wide receiver that could be like a number 2 or a 1B to him, a tall jump ball, go up and get it kind of guy. And I feel like there's a lot of wide receivers in this class, 6'2" or above, that maybe you could start to look at in round 2, 3. Anybody that catches your eye in that kind of big-bodied wide receiver mold.
Yeah, I'm in love with Carnell Tate.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm in love with Carnell Tate. I've evaluated. I mean, I think Tate's going to be gone by 11, but. I've evaluated all the receivers at the Ohio State, as they call it, since the 2021 NFL draft. And I put first round grades on all of them pre-draft, except for Chris Olave. I just couldn't warm up to Chris Olave. I couldn't do it. But all the rest of them I had first round grades on. And I absolutely loved Jackson Smith, the Jigma, when he came out. The flexibility, I mean, it was like watching Gumby on film. I mean, the way he was able to wiggle and bend the routes and the stems of the route and stuff was crazy. And then I loved Emeka Ibuka too. I mean, he's a route architect, is what I call him in my report. I just love how he's very sophisticated, how he builds and runs routes. It's very calculated. I love that about him. But I say all that to say this: Carnell Tate, I like better than all of them.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love it because he's got that big man size. He's got the big long arms, but he's got the quickness of a small receiver.
Yeah, he's got really good body control.
He wins at the break point of routes. He can all 3 route levels, short, intermediate, or deep. He's competitive after the catch with the yards after the catch. He's a guy that can, take the top off of defense. He's so big. He comes down so fast and so hard. A lot of corners play off man on him, and they just don't know what he's going to do. And so he can go deep. He can cut it back underneath. He comes back to the ball when the ball's thrown. He actually attacks the ball and comes back to it, kind of like Travis Hunter did at Colorado, which is another key. But he just creates a lot of space, a lot of separation. Corners don't really know what he's going to do to the last second. And his deep ball skills, I mean, this guy's like a deep ball magnet. I mean, the guy just his ball tracking skills are phenomenal, and he can high point the ball. He just has an amazing jumping ability. I think he had a ridiculous, I think I looked it up. It was like a 78% catch rate or something. So, I mean, he catches almost everything they throw to him. It's just, and then on the sidelines too, he can tightrope the sidelines. He can just toes down right there. Boom. I mean, he does things a lot. He's just a very rare combination guy who's I think is going to dominate in the NFL.
Yeah, a lot of things that translate he does to the NFL level. And, Brian Hartline did a great job over there. And those Ohio State receivers got a high score.
Miami Dolphins legend Brian Hartline.
they got more behind them, too. They got guys we got this freshman, this 5-star freshman. Yeah.
We got this crazy sophomore in high school that's coming. We'll be talking about him.
Wide receiver you.
That's what it is.
That's for sure.
Jordan Tyson, right? He's got the injury history. I'm going to throw you Mike Cobb when I watched him. I saw some CeeDee Lamb in there when I watched him play. Your thoughts on him as a player? I know he's a little bit more polarizing, but I love the way he plays, man. I just do.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, the injury stuff is the big one. Yeah, the medical. I mean, his pre-draft medicals are going to be huge for him. They're going to look into him and that with the microscope, and really pay attention to what's going on with him. But I mean, I like him a lot. I had him number 11 on my board, 2024 film. I like everything he does. He to me, I think he's got a really bright future. As long as his health holds up and stuff, and I'm excited to get to him. He's going to be one of the next prospects I do. But that's a good call. That's a good call, George.
I'm curious. We got to have
Tyson.
Daniel. We got to have you on again. We got to collab more. We got to do this draft process. I'd love to work with you more, man.
Likewise.
I appreciate your passion and your knowledge and all the time and effort you can tell when you speak, and we appreciate it. Let everybody know before you let you go. Then Jason and I are going to spend a few minutes here talking about the Sullivan and Halfley press conference today. We'll get you out of here for that. But let everybody know where they can find you and everything you do and all the work you do for firstroundmock.com.
Absolutely. That's where I'm at. That's my focal point is firstroundmock.com. As you mentioned it, I'm on Twitter. I just celebrated my 4-year anniversary on Twitter X. Like 2 days ago, I think I
made it, huh?
I made it. I made 4 years. 46,200 tweets was averages. I actually broke it down because that's the type of person I'm at. It's at 29.6%, 29.6 tweets per day for 4 straight years. So I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitter a lot, and I have a huge fan club too, quote unquote.
No, you do. I've seen your following. I noticed you on. Then I started looking at your work. I'm not the type of guy, Daniel. I look at people's work and I say, okay, this guy's legit. You know what I mean? Like, and when I saw what you did now, way you presented your case, and you've been in the room before, and I respect that. And,
thank you.
As you can see, I'm passionate about it. I hope we showed that we know what we're talking about here a little bit.
Absolutely. I feel like I'm in a war room. I mean, this is great. We're bouncing things off each other. This is a healthy conversation.
You know what we got to do? We're doing a bunch of mock drafts this offseason. We got to have you in a war room situation with us here, and we're gonna have some fun with Daniel and collab here with you in First Round Mock. And I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For the rest of your night, and we'll be talking again. Thanks so much for joining us, Daniel.
Thanks, guys, and thanks everybody that watched everything. You guys are great. Thank you for being on the show, and we're getting closer and closer. I think it's like 90 days from today's draft, so
a lot of work to do.
Get ready, a lot of work to do. I'm going right then back to Bain right when I get off of here.
I do my big board, and I tell Jason all the time is that I was a Schlesinger guy last year. I had Schlesinger was my guy. And
nice call.
I say I do it by positions. I go through them horizontally. Then when you have to stack that vertically, I sit. I tell him, Jason, I sit in my office. I have a big whiteboard, and I go through it like how I would think if it was me and I was in that seat, how I would rank the players, and that's how I do it.
That's awesome.
And to me, it works out pretty good because you put yourself in a position is, hey, if your job's on the line, where would you rank this guy? And going vertically to horizontally the board. It's fun. I love it. And I'm honored to have a former scout with us here. And hopefully we can do some more work together, Daniel. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, George and Jason. You guys have a great night. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You too, Daniel. Thank you so much. This is great. A lot of fun. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, George. Thank you. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
So that was Daniel Kelly of First Round Mock. Man, I felt like we held our own there. Sonny, it was like well, okay, we can punch with the heavyweights a little bit, but he's great, and we'll have him on again. And tremendous. Make sure you guys go to firstroundmock.com, follow his Twitter handle or X, whatever you guys call it, at First Round Mock. I believe he's at First Round Mock, right, Sonny?
Yep.
Everybody in the chat, we couldn't get to all your questions. We had so many, but we only had 45 minutes with him, but we kept them on for almost an hour. We appreciate it, guys. Make sure you're following, subscribing. Come over to YouTube and check us out. Hit the subscribe button, the likes, share. It helps us promote for all the content. We got Dolphins and draft coming up. But there was a press conference today, Sonny. Quickly, we want to talk about that. Here some of the highlights I took from it, from the press conference. Stephen Ross forgetting names. There was a lot of emotion. There was There were zero counts. I didn't hear That was good. Ross said he knew in the first 10 minutes that Sullivan was the right guy for the job. On the Zoom interview, another thing I noticed, Sullivan and Halfley, these guys, Sonny, are cut from the same cloth. Like it's pretty clear. They have a friendship, and I like that because I think they're going to sink or swim together, Jason. I think that's good. Sullivan said he had a strong conviction about Haley, but he noted the process was handled through an open-minded interview that included many strong candidates. He said he added that he felt the rest of the committee ultimately saw what he saw in Hafley, so that was good. I thought Jeff Hafley, Jason, strong presence, confident. You could see why the guy was being looked at for all 6 jobs he hired. Another thing, Hafley calling the defensive plays. I'm interested to hear your point on that. I know you're probably not going to like that.
No, I kind of expected it.
You did.
Completely
okay,
fine.
Okay.
I mean, look, obviously they weren't going to bring in a top tiered defensive coordinator who's going to call the plays when you bring in a guy like Hafley. And I even said it, a couple of days ago. Someone asked, "What are my thoughts about bringing this?" I'm like, Hafley's probably going to call the plays. Very similar to when Mike McDaniel came over and he's the play caller. They weren't going to bring in an offensive play caller, offensive coordinator. They're going to bring in someone who could help just the overall offense schematically or whatever. And that was Bevel in the quarterback scenario, whatever, and Frank Smith. But, I'm fine with Hafley calling the plays. I mean, he's the guy. He's had solid defenses. Let him call the plays, and it'll be interesting to see who he staffs. Yeah,
there's some rumors, staff guys. I've heard so many names about who's going to be the offensive defensive coordinators. I've lost track. But he said I thought other interesting points were he expects he on offense. They asked him, you're a defensive coach. What do you want to see on offense? Run the football and be physical up front. He says he'll adjust to the strengths of his players. Great things. He noted when they acquired Micah Parsons that he made big adjustments, for example, to suit his abilities. And another thing, I know you like this, Sullivan outlined philosophy of drafting quarterbacks almost every year to various degrees, but he believes in the competition developed that position, Jason. That was, to me, the thing that was the most music to my ears. I don't know about you.
It was nice. It was a very good opening number for my ears, but the thing that really made me get up and clap was how he said, Sullivan, they're going to draft and develop. And another word that was used was retain. And I'll tell you, man, I'm not saying that was said as a shot to the previous regime, but I'm taking it that way.
Yeah,
because you can't be one of the other 31 GMs or anybody in a personnel or scouting department and see what the Dolphins have neglected to not do and scratch your head about it.
Yeah.
And I know I might be really focusing in on a player or two, but when you draft a player who hits or is on the way to hitting, you keep him home or at least offer him the opportunity to stay home. And Chris Grier, almost with some sort of an arrogance, refused to do that or didn't do that at all to the point where it would be rewarding to any of his future hits. So what John Eric Sullivan did was basically say, we're going to draft you, play well. We're going to develop you, show potential, and we're going to sign you, and we're going to reward you, and we're going to keep you home. And Jordan, I know you know where I'm going. That's exactly where I'm going. But retain, develop, those are buzzwords that I love to hear.
Yeah. And you said it creates culture, which I agree.
Yeah.
You want a bunch of mercenaries. It's true. I never thought of it like that. When he mentioned that, he goes, you bring guys from every other team, and he was taking a shot again at Chris Grier.
That's right.
There is no culture because everybody has a different philosophy. They don't respect anything. They come from different. When you draft, develop, retain, you develop a coach. Now you can't retain everybody. You're going to have get something in the roster, free agency. But he did mention Tua, respected Tua, gave the company line. We can't discuss it right now. Tua's not going to be back. Question will be: is there going to be somebody like a Malik Willis? Time will tell. But anything else stand out to you in the press conference besides Stephen Ross not remembering the name? People made a big deal about that. Look, Stephen Ross was in the room, but Stephen Ross wasn't the biggest. He didn't make the final decision. He just along for the ride. To me, what Aikman said, what Silman said, what Garfinkel said, what the general manager said, it held a lot of weight. You could tell. I almost felt bad for Stephen Ross talking in the beginning. He really struggled through it. But anything else stand out from you? The press conference, the presence. of Hafley, right? I talked about you need an alpha, you need a strong, tough presence. Guy slept under his desk for 2 years, all that good stuff. They know what they're doing. They're selling themselves. But I thought these guys, what I liked is that you could tell there's a natural friendship there, and I don't foresee problems coming. I think this ship will sink or swim with them either getting there together or failing together. And at least you got the boat steering in one direction, and I like that, right? We always said same timeline. But what did you think of the presence of Hafley? It's the first time we really heard him extensively here.
No, I like the mix of the toughness talk. I like the fact that he got, listen, emotions when you get your first NFL head coaching job, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that,
Your family, all that stuff. Yeah.
He was speaking from the heart. It wasn't like he was scripting and reading something that was pre-planned. He was just going off the cuff. And I think that with his familiarity with Sully, as he likes to be called,
Sully.
there's a synchronicity there, So I don't look at it as, Sullivan just hired his buddy. No, let's think about this. Sullivan, in his new job, had to make a first decision that he is going to sink or swim with. You don't hire a buddy to sink or swim with. You hire someone that you have a high chance of swimming with and not sinking with. So I like the fact that, sure, let's call it Green Bay South or Packers South right now. This is a cool duo to me. And look, if it works, phenomenal. If it doesn't, we're Dolphin fans. We've been here before. We'll do it again, but hopefully not. Hopefully this is the time. And I think that they have a solid shot.
The only thing you can judge is what they say, the presence you felt, the way they carried himself, and I thought it was a passing press conference. I've said it before, but I'll be honest, I didn't say it under Mike McDaniels. I didn't buy Mike McDaniel from the beginning. I thought it was forced, him trying to be funny and selling himself a little too much. Never bought it, the act. I was hoping he'd be a good coach, but these guys at least show a presence. They felt like real football guys. Like, Greer, there was no glasses or fancy watches or sneakers or golf hats. It was suit, tie, clean shaven, military haircuts, like real football guys mean business. And look, this is going to be a grind. And if you're in this building, it ain't going to be easy. You're going to be along for the ride or you're not. And I like that. I just like the presence of Tony.
And one thing, look, you go back a couple of coaches ago, you go back to a Brian Flores, and it's almost like there was no joking. There was no aspect of fun. But McDaniel almost had too much of that fun, too much of that joking around. And I'm not saying this is a happy medium with Hafley, but it seems like there could be a bit of that hard toughness, no nonsense kind of guy. But there also seems that there could be that wall broken down where there could be a little bit of personality that comes through. I mean, Flores was a very tough, rigid kind of guy. Phenomenal X's and O's guy, but not really a terrific ability to get along with subordinates. There was a problem there. I want guys that are going to go look at their boss and Sully and be like, all right, boss, what do you need me to do for you? I'm with you. And at the same time, Hafley can encourage and push them to be the best that they can be and maybe even start building a tree. Wouldn't that be great? If whoever whoever Hafley brings on in, let's see how their careers can eventually grow and develop, because that's a sign of a successful coach too.
There seems like there's new names every day. There's a couple that I think we're pinned down to on the defense and offensive side, but there's so many of them. Like I've heard every day. We'll see who they bring in. That'll be coming in. We won't know until we get into it, like how good the staff he builds. But I expect it to be probably some guys he's familiar with, probably not a lot of experienced guys. I don't think you'll see one of these top offensive coordinators come in. You might. I mean, I don't know, but I think it's probably somebody he's worked with, whether it's Boston College or Green Bay or with other stops in the NFL he's had. He'll probably bring in those guys. I saw the list of names. I forget them offhand here. Seems like every hour there's a new one or a new report about this guy's a favorite for, I think, Lemsko for the defensive coordinator and a bunch of guys on the offensive side. But, it was interesting. Daniel was fun. Our first episode of the Fins Faithful War Room, our draft coverage was fun. We're going to be a lot more of it. Zach, I don't know if we're going to do it every Thursday or Wednesday. We'll figure that out, and we'll let you guys know. We could be having something really cool coming up in the next few days. We don't have it sure yet. Nothing's confirmed. Jason and I are working on it, but stay tuned. This is a person that could have put on the Dolphins uniform very, very recently. Could be part of the show. We don't know yet. We don't want to announce it. Then I believe Monday we have somebody from Green Bay who writes for Packers on SI. He's going to give us the insight on Sullivan, Halfley, Malik Willis. We're going to ask him about and the other free agents they got over there, because it's not just Malik Willis. There's a few other guys on the Packers, so that'll be fun. Stick with this. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Give me the thumbs up. Finn's Faithful Podcast and the Finn's Faithful War Room. We're going to have you covered all off-season water-wall coverage with news, the draft, whatever news breaks, and all that good stuff. We appreciate you guys staying up late. Jason, any final words on our first episode of the War Room? One of many.
It's the official start of the season after the season, and this is our on-season here. So it'll be fun. We're going to be breaking it down and taking it all the way up until April at the end of the month for the draft.
Yeah, and, I like the fact that he's going to use my term weatherproof quarterback. So that was cool with Daniel. All right, so for Daniel Kelly, former NFL scout for the Jets from First Round Mock, thanks for joining us. For Jason Sarney and for myself, we are out, guys. Have a great night. Stay safe. Finn's Faithful. We are out.